always end up saying, when talking about war, I always end up saying it's not like Hollywood.
No,
the bad
that's right.
guys win. And often the good guys do dreadful things and unspeakable things. It is not, as so many of us, absorb conflict, which, and in a way we're lucky, is not by actually ever being involved in it if you live in a peaceful place. You watch the movies, you read the books, you think, oh, that's okay, because it only goes up to a point. And on the whole, in all the books and movies, the good guys win.
Yeah.
Life's not like that. And when you talk about I work as a television reporter, and it is not possible, and I can't think of the television channel on which it is possible, and there are some that go further than others, on which you can put the full realities of war, which I've actually myself witnessed.
Yeah.
You cannot do it.
In fact, a lot of people recently, for instance, have been very shocked to see images on YouTube posted out of Syria, for example, and Libya, because that is the unmediated reality.
Television is absolutely sanitised in most societies, and therefore reporting war is a constant battle and argument about how much the audience can stand and how much reality you can deliver. And it's because of that some issues appear to be, more difficult and unusual than they actually are. Not more difficult, but more unusual with child soldiers. You will see them in many countries, and it's dreadful what happens. But the answer is that is war, and human beings do it.
But a lot of people don't actually know in some wars you're actually participating in fueling a war, For example, you may not know, if you think about Congo now, they're child soldiers, and if we look at our mobile phones, I have 2 BlackBerries. Sometimes I even feel bad, I'm actually fueling a war, because there's certain elements that are needed to create the mobile phones. And also, if you talk about the diamonds, if you talk about the fuels, if you're wearing shoes which are made of leather, like recently I just came to realize actually the tribal wars that were happening in southern Sudan were actually fueled by the government. So the tribes are given guns, they go and invade the next tribe, take their cows, ship them to Khartoum, and those cows are sold to Saudi Arabia and Europe and China. So in Khartoum there are a lot of cows that have been taken. So it's a cheap way to buy cows. Just give them guns, they kill each other. So there are many ways in which people are participating, and people don't know they also have so much power to actually stop this. And sometimes maybe in the West, war is a distant. They only know it in 1940s, the effect of it, and also maybe seeing it in Hollywood in the movies.
Although both Kate and I were in the Balkans in the 1990s, so it's a lot more recent than that for parts of Europe. And that was a particularly dirty war, a particularly unpleasant war, and I think that informs some of what Kate is saying.
And very difficult to report, in one sense, that the audience didn't really want to know about it.
Yeah.
They want things more clear-cut. I used to get people saying, well, where are the front lines? I'd say there aren't any. It's just one village divided against itself. Never mind the next village. Neighbours kill neighbours. I said the biggest incidents are people crawling over the village, wall and
like
going
Rwanda,
and killing their neighbours. It's a grubby business. I was actually in the family kitchen in a village in Croatia during the Croat-Serb War, which preceded the Bosnian one. And the Serbs came down the village street. This is a middle-class, affluent place. Modern kitchen, fridge, freezer, big colour telly, all the bits. We're talking about Europe, absolutely. And we were in the kitchen. It'd been quiet over lunchtime. We'd just arrived. There'd been trouble farther into the village. We got into the kitchen. Because they dragged us in and said, lunch, hospitable, out came all the slivovitz, out came all the cheese and the ham and the wonderful stuff. And they insisted on pushing lunch into us. And just as we were finishing and saying we must go in, there was the sound of mighty explosions, trouble started about 600 yards away, and this civilized, educated family rushed under the kitchen sink, brought out 2 Kalashnikovs, bashed open the kitchen window, and then we were all on the floor. And then, after small arms fire started up here and there, they fired. And he cheered. And we said, "What have you done?" They said, "We've just killed our postman."
Oh.
I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "How do you know?" "Oh, he's been coming here for 15 years. We've just killed him."
Yep.
It's a dirty war. That's the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing which is very difficult to convey. It's not the Hollywood movie. It's not the daring do, the heroism. It's killing your postman.
A disgusting euphemism was created for exactly that, ethnic cleansing. I think one of the nastiest phrases I know. But coming back to you, Emmanuel, I'd just like to be very specific about what's going on in Sudan at the moment. Southern Sudan achieved statehood, in theory at any rate. I understand that has actually made things worse for many people in the north.
At the moment, it's difficult for the government in the north because a lot of money that they got from the oil is going to the south. But the government still play ways in which that they don't want south to be stable. So at the moment, there's a lot of tribals raiding. And there's a lot of conflicts. It's going to take us time for South Sudan really to stand on its feet.
And Darfur is still in a state of war.
So what the government is trying to do, the Bashir government is trying to control everybody. So it's trying to use Islam to say we are one people, Arabizing everybody by force. And the main target are the Blue Nile, Nuba Mountain, and Darfur, which are because the only thing that I find is we feel like we left the Nubians and then Darfur is with them to just finish them and eradicate them. The same tactics they use in South is what they're using there. Because in the war, 2.5 million people died. Those are women, mostly majority women. If we talk about soldiers that have died, I don't think they have reached 200,000. But the women and children that the government just going to kill everybody, that's what reached that number.
I must raise this because I listen to you sane, lucid, reasonable, thoughtful, balanced. An enormous number of people would argue that if you have the kind of experience that a child soldier has that you've had, how come you are sane, reasonable, etc.? The question is that irreparable damage is done. And
how come I'm reasonable like this? The difference is that what you're saying? Or
I'm saying that a lot of people, I don't say this, but I get the argument to me, going and seeing a lot of violence. People have started conversations with me with the words, "You're a very damaged person." And I say, well, I hope not. Now, then, it's a serious matter because it's a deeply felt feeling, particularly in psychiatric-based Western culture, that experiences as a child are lifelong and change you.
Well, maybe I'm not sure if I quite understood your question, but I'll try. What is the thing? The trouble I get is I was in Finland or somewhere. So, is it the place Hague? We were in Hague on one trial. So the 3 ex-child soldiers that were there. So some female just, I'm going to take pictures with these child soldiers. And then I said, oh my God, do I look like a child soldier? Like in my thought. And I say, I'm not a child anymore. I could probably, I'm not going to put the joke. Because to them they still think we're still children. But the difference is, for me to be able to talk like this is I've healed. I've taken the step forward to be a voice. I was a bitter. If you're still bitter inside and you haven't gotten healing inside, everything will be difficult. You'll not be in a way to be able to talk properly when answering questions is difficult. In fact, I hated Muslims and Arabs, and I wanted to kill as many as possible. The training was really hard for me, but the fact that I wanted to revenge for my family is what kept me to finish the training. But when I went to Kenya, when I was smuggled into Kenya, I became lucky. So I actually went to school and I was educated. And I came to discover Gandhi, Nelson Mandela. I came to know about Martin Luther King. And then I discovered the truth. What was killing us was not the Muslims or the Arabs. So what I came to realize, what is killing us is the gold, is the diamond, it's the land. It's what was killing us. And so I started educating myself, and I said, okay. When I was growing as a child, I used to know, I come from a tribe called Nuer. So we were taught from the stories that Dinka eat people. And so as a kid, you're growing up, you want to be a warrior to throw spears. So we'd go and train each other, you throw spears and meat, because you're preparing yourself for the next cattle raids in the Dinka people, because we don't feel they deserve the cows. And so the Dinka had their own ideology saying the Nuer people are subhuman, they don't deserve the cows. So they will come and raid. So in those battlefields, even in those days, even when I was taken to Ethiopia, one of my best friends was a Dinka. So when we share a bed, I used to freak out at night. I sleep with one eye open, hoping that a tail will pop out of his ass and probably eat him. So as a kid, I was growing up. Until I was 16, I still had the belief that the Dinka eat people. So when I look at the theory and say, what difference is this when Arabs came and started enslaving people and taking the land and calling us that we don't deserve what we have, the land has been given to them by God. And so when I compare the same thing, what different is this from what we're doing to each other as tribe than when European came and just locked everything? And so what I came to realize is people extend the empathy to people of the same color or same language as them or same faith as them, and then create and label the other people, and then they begin to rob. And so the understanding, education helped me in my healing process that I'm able to be now. But it doesn't mean before I had to forgive myself. But the thing is, the torments are not there. The things that I've done or horrible things, I may not talk about them now, but they're in the book, is I justify them, you see, just to help you say, it happened, it wasn't me. But if I did this, if this never happened, I would haven't done this. But the nightmares, or whatever your eyes, the difference is what you see with your eyes, how terrifying it is. It's difficult to erase it, but you have to learn to live with it. So the nightmares still come. Even like I woke up this morning, I had a nightmare last night. I was in a battlefield. But to wake up and realize, okay, I'm in an hotel. And that's when I got relaxed. So the war can still visit you even after it's done. I'm sure because you've been reporting to, and if you've seen those things you're explaining, sometimes they visit you at night.
Great answer.